it was really, we were having a meeting at the MCL cafeteria, and Donna Boyd, who is a supporter of the Tuskegee Airmen, actually came to our table and said, I have a very good idea for a program. And we said, oh, well, wonderful. And so that's how we got in touch with Mr. Morast. He is going to be talking to us about the background of the Tuskegee Airmen and also the different programs that they have to support the 53 chapters that they have throughout the United States. I invite Mr. Morast to come and begin our program and tell us a little bit more.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm delighted to be here, and thank you, Mark, for bringing me here. On behalf of the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated and the Ohio Memorial Chapter, this is a great opportunity for us to get out and tell our stories, and I'm glad you're all eager to hear that. What we're trying to do is build an education center here in Columbus for the Tuskegee Airmen, for youth, because that's what we're really about, is education. We use the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen to promote education. We have 53 chapters throughout the United States, and they all do the same thing. We all go out, do presentations like I'm doing today, and we all have education programs that we try to reach kids that can't afford college. Now, we can't give away $23,000 scholarships because we don't bring that kind of money in. The money that we get for the scholarships nationally is based on the money that we get support from local communities and corporations in the cities that we have. And what we do is we combine those things and give scholarships to kids that qualify. They have to have at least a 3.0 grade point average. They have to major in science, math, English, engineering, or something to do with aviation. And I'm proud to say that most of the kids that fill out these applications, they have better than 4.0 grade point averages. And some of them comes from very poor communities. So what that does, that it encourages us more, because what we realize now is there are kids that's smart in a community that doesn't really have a lot, but if they have the opportunity, they can advance. And when they advance, we all advance, because it's a help to the community, and it's even a help to the nation as they go into progress. How many of you seen Red Tails? Wonderful, wonderful. And before I go any further, though, I'd like to recognize all of the veterans that served in any war in the United States. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your service. It's because of men and women like the gentleman just stood up that we're able to be here safe and sound doing this program today. It takes generation after generation to maintain the status that we have in the world. The gentleman that was narrating that piece, some of them are still alive. Dr. Roscoe Brown, the guy that was talking about going underneath the aircraft and shooting them down, he's 94, he's still around. Lee Archer is the guy that was talking about, that we're talking about, Colonel Parrish. He died last year, and he was the only guy that was recognized to be an ace in the Tuskegee Airmen. And he actually shot down 4 aircraft, and it was some controversy back in then on the 5th one, and they later gave it to him, but he was so stubborn he didn't take it. But I think it finally, in the end, he got recognized for it. the guy that you're talking about, Colonel Parrish, he was the guy that really stood up for the Tuskegee Airmen, that really jeopardized his own career in the service. And these guys thought so much of him when they formed their Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated in 1975. The highest award that you can achieve in this organization is the Noah Parrish Award. That's how much they thought of him and how much they appreciated what he did for them. His wife, she's 90-some years old now, and I call it like whenever she shows up at the convention, wherever it may be, she always comes up. They have the convention at different cities throughout the United States. This year it's going to be in St. Louis. But these guys are all in the late 80s and mid 90s now. So whenever she shows up, they're all trying to get to her, and it looks like I call it a wheelchair convention, because everybody's got their wheelchairs trying to get over to her. And then when it comes her turn to speak, she gets up and she speaks, and she loses a friend, a thought, or where it's at, and she just tells them, well, you know what I mean. So, so they still think a great deal of her, and we all think a great deal of her, and appreciate the fact that she thinks enough to still come out at the age that she's at. What I'll do is I'll take some questions and try to answer at this point. Yes, ma'am.
How many were lost in how many airmen were lost in the battle?
Originally, they said 64. It's been revised of that to like 87, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
How many of them stayed in the Air Force following the war? I'm sorry, how many of them stayed in the Air Force following the war?
Oh, okay. That's really, we don't really know that, because all of the airmen that were Tuskegee Airmen, some did stay in, others didn't. Some, when they got out, they didn't join the organization. So we don't really know how many there was in or how many there is still alive. But what we do is we do an estimate based on the guys that belong to the different chapters. And I know we got a couple of guys in Columbus that doesn't belong to our chapter. But sometimes guys, when they go through war, for some of those experiences, they just don't want to be bothered anymore. So I went and talked to both of these guys, and I respected the fact that they didn't want to be bothered, you know. So, and that happens throughout the United States. But right now we estimate that there's probably about 300 pilots still alive, and probably somewhere between 800 and 900 of the original Tuskegee Airmen are still alive. In the Ohio Memorial chapter, we have 8 originals. We got 3 here in Columbus, 1 in Cleveland, and 3 in Dayton. And the one in Cleveland is 96. One of C.I. William, who was the commander at Lockbourne, he's 96. The other 2 in Dayton, one's 93 and the other's 94. Here in Columbus, we have Paul Menefield, who was about 87, and Carter, who was I think 84. His experiences wasn't overseas; they were out at Rickenbacker at Lockbourne. Yes, ma'am.
How did they end up in Columbus?
Okay. When they came back from overseas, they were looking for some place to put all these guys because they were still segregated. They was having problems trying to find a state that would accept them. Governor Lauschie was the governor of Ohio then, and he brought them here. And you know, it was a lot of, some of you may have been around in that time, but I know if when he brought them here, it was a lot of displeasure to a lot of people, because they figured that that many people coming in, particularly black people coming into Columbus, was going to cause a problem. But like a good politician, he brought them in because that brings money. So anyway, it ended up, I think it ended up, it was a good deal for Ohio. And Governor Lauschie, you know, I don't know him, but from the pictures and things that I have with the guys that when he was here, I know he spent a lot of time with a guy named Harold Sawyer, mean, you guys may know him. He was, matter of fact, he was the only pilot out of Columbus that actually shot an aircraft down. He shot down 2. So Lausche spent some time with him, and I got some of those pictures and things that we show around when we do other presentations. Yes?
I think it's important to note that Eleanor Roosevelt played a major role in the Tuskegee.
Yeah, she did. She went to Tuskegee, Modenfield, and well, you know, Lady Roosevelt was her own lady, I think. So, from what you can read about her, anyway. So, when she went there, she wanted to fly with one of the guys. She was talking to the guy, Anderson. He was a civilian instructor pilot, black guy. And she said, well, I hear you guys can fly. She said, yes, I can fly. She said, well, you take me up and fly. He said, I'll take you up. So the base commander says, no, wait a minute, no. So they got it kind of upset about that, you know. So they called the president, and you know the way it goes, it said, well, I can't tell her what to do. So if she wants to fly, let her fly. So I think she kind of, well, that's what wives do, right? But she did play a major role in that because, you know, after she actually flew with Colonel Anderson, that made a big difference in things moving forward. But the thing is, the Tuskegee Airmen, you know, it had a lot of success, but it couldn't have been without white people involved, because those are the only people that were in power. So fortunately, it was enough of them that they were able to do the things they did, make the history they did. But had it not been for people like Mr. Roosevelt, people like the President himself, and it was some others, I can't recall their names right now, but and Parrish, that never would have happened, because Parrish was the guy that actually trained the guys on base. General Davis was the captain at that time. He went through, and I think it was Parrish's pick to be the commander for him to go overseas. So Parrish trained him. Davis took him into combat. Any other questions?
How many were there altogether?
Altogether, overseas it was like 940, I believe, fighter pilots. Is that right? In that area, anyway. Altogether, what you have to realize is that when they came back, the base was made up totally of doctors, nurses, cooks, everything it takes to make a base. When they were in Italy, that was partially true. They didn't have as many people over there as they had when they come back here to Lockburn. But they too had, doctors, nurses, cooks, aircraft mechanics. So someplace at the highest number, it was probably around 2,000, about 2,000 of them. When they came here to Lockburn, I believe the figure is about 18, the high number was 1,800. So, and they came here in May 46, and then dispersed in June 49. That's when they dispersed and went, they integrated the Air Force, and they started shipping guys all over. Now, I was out at Lockburn from 61 to 63, and it was nothing out there that indicated to me that Tuskegee Airmen had ever been there. I just figured it was another Air Force base. Now, due to my career, I was always free to just go every place I wanted to go. We had some restrictions based on what the Air Force expected us to do with the different kind of jobs that we had. I was in combat operations, and when I was out there, my job was major was to recover the B-47s and B-52s when they came back in from their long-range missions. So we didn't really associate too much with the rest of the base people. So it may be an unfair statement to say it's nothing out there, but I still haven't seen anything that convinced me that it was. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
There is on the base now the dining hall is identified as red-tailed diamond hawk.
Well, but that went up in 1998. Yeah, that's where we meet. Yeah, but what I was talking about was the history out there. The red-tailed diamonds, all that, they do have that, and we meet there bi-monthly. And we're grateful for that. The commander out there, he's the guy out there now, the colonel's really new. I think his name is Johnson. But through the years, over the commanders, they've always been very hospitable for us to get out there and do our meetings. And we're grateful for that. And we've got a lot of help out of the Guard as far as that goes. I'm particularly talking about back in the areas of the 40s, when things were segregated. We as a nation has grown to the point that almost nobody can believe how much we've grown in 60 years. That's the one thing that makes this country one of the greatest countries on earth, or maybe the greatest country on earth, because of the sacrifices that we like to make. And we make them without regret. And that's both men and women. And when you look at the wars we're fighting today, it's a lot of women that's involved. And it's a lot of women that's coming back really mean. So, though we sit here and smile, it's a great sacrifice that the country makes as a whole. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Did they choose to have the red tails on their plates, or was that a discriminatory designation given?
I didn't.
I'm sorry. Did they choose themselves to have the red tails on their plate, or was that a discriminatory designation?
Yep. During wartime, all aircrafts have markings on them. And they chose to put the red tails collectively on the aircraft. Some of the aircraft, they had different type markings. Some of the pilots actually had the girlfriends painted on the planes. Anything that inspired you. So the red tails, it was chosen collective among the pilots to paint the red tails red. And what that did, and the way they became known as the Red Tail Angels, was when they started escorting the bombers. They lost very few of them, and the pilots began to notice that, and then they started requesting the red tails for escort, and it was only a few of them, so they started drawing straws to get that escort, and that was it's probably sometime, but the thing that they really thought was if they were being escorted by the Tuskegee Airmen, planes with the red tails, that they were going to get back home for the mission. The difference between the Air Force and John Davis' command to the red tails were that they stay with the bombers. The Air Force, they stayed with the bombers too, but they also had the freedom to chase fighters for kills. The guys that flew for Davis didn't have that freedom. Once the planes was not a threat to the bombers, they had to come back. And he promised them that they didn't do that, they'd be court-martialed. So that's one of the reasons they had such success with the planes that they were escorting. Yes,
Why
ma'am.
red tail?
I don't know. I guess they like red. But reds. I don't know why they chose red. Maybe blood. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. Every American's all blood runs red. So it doesn't make any difference who you are. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Oh, there's some more questions. Okay.
She knows why.
I wondered if they were named that after the red-tailed hawk, which dives and attacks.
I don't know, but I'll look into that. I'll look into that. Yeah. Yes.
Are you building an education center?
Oh yeah. Pete's always going to go. Yeah. What are the things that we're doing here? We're trying to build an education center here at Rickenbacker out there, and we're looking for support for that. So anybody that's interested in helping us to build education center in the name of the Red Tails and Ohio Memorial Chapter. Please go to our website, www.tuskegeeairmenomc.com, and contact me, and we'll be glad to work with you.